What's up guys, Lewis here from Incredible, back with another indie game review, and today we are talking about Void Bastards, the new game by Blue Manchu, and it's being published by Humble Bundle or Humble Presents. Now, I didn't know much about Void Bastards, and well, being honest, I'd never even heard of the game until about 2 months ago when Dan from Incredible pointed it out to me at an event called EGX Res, an indie game event where we go to every year. And since then, since seeing the kind of comic book visuals of the game and what it's calling strategic shooter, get my words out, that's where I was kind of excited about seeing more of Void Bastards. And I've been spending the last week playing the game, so I can sit down now, I can really deep dive into Void Bastards and give you my full impressions and opinions on the game. Now, before I kind of really dive into that, just a little point or a word of warning: we don't score games anymore here at Incredible. So if you're going to sit here for 15 minutes, watch all this video and then go, wait a minute mate, where's my score? Tough luck. Go to another video, go to another website. They'll give you a score out of 10. We don't. We kind of really dive into the meat of it and let you make a decision on whether you want the game or whether you don't want the game. Simple as that. So, enough of rambling. Let's get into it. Void Bastards. Let's kick off by saying, what on earth is Void Bastards? Well, as I said, the game is billed as a strategic shooter. And you might be sitting there wondering, what on earth is a strategic shooter? And well, let me try and break it down for you. Strategic shooter is basically a first-person shooting game that gives you the strategic options to kind of play through the game as you choose, to a certain extent. So, by playing, the choices the game gives you to play through are what routes you'll take and a kind of risk and reward system that I'll get into in a minute. Where it doesn't give you options is obviously on the kind of the objectives that you need to achieve. The game gives you a set of objectives. You choose the most strategic route for your playstyle or for what equipment you currently have to get through the game. That's where the strategic side comes into it. The shooting side comes into, well, you shoot aliens or citizens as they're called in the game. So enough of what a strategic shooter is. Let's dive into what actually what is Void Bastards and the story of it. One thing I want to point on quickly is the game is lots of the press releases I've read, and even I think the Steam page of the game is saying the game is inspired by games like System Shock and Bioshock. A quick full disclaimer: I've never played System Shock, so if you're watching this video and you're thinking, why on earth is this guy not comparing that to something that happens in System Shock? It's because I've never played the game. I can give comparisons to Bioshock and other games I've played similar to this, but System Shock, you might be watching the gameplay going, hey, this is System Shock. It might well be. I don't know anything about System Shock. That's out of the way. Let's dive into it. So, Void Bastards sees you playing as a prisoner, I suppose is the best way to describe it. There's a ship called the Void Ark, and the Void Ark is effectively a big prison vessel. Now, Void Ark needs to escape the nebula system, or a nebula system, like a star system. To do so, you need to take control of a prisoner. You must complete a series of objectives, which are kind of loosely based around forging an identity, registering yourself as not a prisoner, as an actual civilian, and then getting the ship up and running and get out the star system. That's kind of where the story goes of the game. This is not a story game, so if you're looking for a deep sci-fi story, maybe go check something out like Observation. This game isn't for you if you're looking solely for a deep sci-fi story. So the story's there to kind of usher you through the gameplay, and that's where Void Bastards gets its really damn cool comic book inspired claws into you, is through its gameplay. So once you get your objectives, you set off on the Nebula Star System, which plays out like a classic star map, shall I say. You have different nodes, and on each node is a different something different to do. Most of them are populated with ships. So these ships will be like medic ships, there'll be fuel ships, there'll be food ships, there'll be army ships. Each ship offers loot for you to jump onto. So the main idea of the game is you kind of go to these ships, you jump on the ship, you loot the ship, you get off the ship, you go to the next one. Now, that would be very boring if that's all Void Bastards offered. The strategic side comes in two ways. One, how you move through the star system. So, for example, you might come across a ship and you can see what enemies are on the ship and if there are any additional hazards or things getting in your way. Sometimes actually there are buffs on the ship. For example, sometimes I had one example when there was so they're called citizens in the game. The aliens are called citizens. I had one instance where a citizen on a ship was actually an ally. So I could just run around the ship looting it for fun, and there was not a single bit of conflict in the game. That's a lie. There's conflict with security systems, but I'll get into them again in more detail in a minute. So each ship has a different set of enemies on it. Some don't have any enemies on it. Some are like shopping ships, and there's all these different kind of ships. You can choose how and where you go through them, depending on your loadout, depending on what equipment you got, depending on how best suits your current needs or what you may need. The second strategic side comes into when you actually board or dock these ships. So you jump on these ships, you board them, and you make your way through. Now, every ship has a part on for you to loot. Most of them have more than one part, but the additional parts are hidden, or not so much hidden. You need what are called merits, in-game currency, to buy these additional parts out of lockers and things like that. But everyone has a part that anyone can find on the ship. And that's where the main gameplay loop comes in. So, for example, the first objectives you get in the game are to find some printer ink and find an ID card. So both ID card and printer ink can be crafted through recycled materials, other stuff that you can also find on the ships. For example, you find pens, you find data disks. At the end of the mission, they get recycled for plasma, for data, I can't remember all the things. A bio, there's like 4 or 5 different options. They all get recycled into, and then you use those to create the items. Or you just go around the ships and you find the part on the ship. So by finding these parts, you can then craft new equipment, new weapons, new body armor, increase your health, decrease different hazard damage to you, decrease damage taken to you, new grenades, like all this stuff, but you need parts to create these on your workbench. So you jump on the ship, you run around the ship, you grab the stuff off the ship, you shoot the enemies along the way, you get back on your vessel, and you go. And that's pretty much the gameplay loop. You kind of jump on these ships, you're looting the ships, you're getting off the ships, you're going to the next one, you're doing it again and again and again and again and again. Now, the risk and reward is one of the best standout elements of the game, and that's what happens when you jump on these ships. So you jump on a ship, you have an oxygen limit on these ships. I want to say it's like 8 minutes. I think it depends on some ships have reduced oxygen limit, some have increased oxygen limit, but the most base time it's around about 8 minutes of oxygen you have. And then you run around the ship, you grab the stuff. The best thing you can do is pretty much get to the helm. You use the helm computer, which then shows you where all the loot is on the ship and where the part is, or maybe potential additional parts if you have the merits to buy them. You go grab your stuff, you get back on your ship, and you bugger off. If you're going to go over the 8 minutes because maybe you got in a firefight, maybe you got too busy exploring stuff, then there are ways of refilling oxygen as you're kind of going around. And that all plays into the strategic side of the game. Especially as you get latter stages of the game. After I was like 10 hours into about 9 hours into my main playthrough, because I'll get onto the roguelite elements in a minute. Once I was about 9 hours into my main playthrough, the ships got pretty damn big, and some of them didn't have a helm. So actually going back and refilling my oxygen was a necessity if I wanted to find as much stuff on the ship as possible. It's very much a game as like being nosy rewards you in terms of if you don't find the helm, but like looking in anything that has items in it. And it's quite nice. It has this little green like sci-fi lighty glow to stuff that has items in it. So it's very easy to kind of find where items are. But getting into them and looting stuff, being nosy early on and getting as much stuff as possible really does help you later. Because as I just teased, Void Bastards is a roguelite. So roguelite, the roguelite element of the game is different. It's not a roguelike in terms of you don't die, complete wipe. It is roguelite. Lots of stuff carries over. And this is honestly the best example for a very long time I've seen of roguelite. So when you die, literally everything carries over. You go to a new host, you get a new prisoner. One little cool thing on the side on the prisoners that you get. So when this little backpack attaches to the prisoner, you get these little kind of really cool comic book cutscenes that play out between the story. You've probably seen some of the gameplay you've seen now, and they're really cool. They're really nicely voiced. But I'll get on to the voicing again in a minute. And yeah, so these prisoners you come with weird passives, and this is really quite a quirky, cool thing. So, for example, I had one person. The first person I think I ever played as was they were called a smoker. So it meant that they had a buff that they could hack into doors quicker, so they could unlock doors a lot quicker. But they would randomly cough. So if I was trying to sneak past enemies that were too powerful for me, they might randomly just go, and then all of a sudden they were like, who's that? Who's there? And I come after you. And yeah, little passives like that. Most of them have, all of them have a positive passive, and all of them have a negative passive. And it kind of adds a little bit more personality to the game, shall I say. But anyway, roguelike, you die, everything carries over, apart from one very crucial element, and that is your ammunition. Yes. Ammunition is a pain in the arse when you're getting started in this game. Now, I'm going to get into... I'm going to kick off with it now. Full disclaimer, full disclosure, you guys feel free to ridicule me if you want to in chat. Like, I don't mind. Get in those comments and smash the hell out of me if you want to. I started this game on normal, as I do with any game. I was getting my arse handed to me, and I'm going to be honest, I wasn't enjoying the game for one main reason. So I would die, I would come back, you get given like 50 bullets at the start. Most enemies take about 4, some take 1, anywhere between 1 and 4 bullets to take down at the very beginning. So I was going through all my ammo on one ship. I was then getting off the ship, I was going to another ship, and I wasn't finding any ammo. Meaning I was going on the ships and I was literally sprinting in circles, trying to grab as much stuff as I could, taking as least damage as possible to get back on my ship, to then fly around a little bit, to get my health back up, to then go do it all over again. It's not fun. I'm going to be completely honest, that was honestly my worst time of the game. That opening hour and a half, 2 hours. And I really struggled to get into a rhythm, to get into it, because I kept dying and I'd coming out. And I didn't feel like my time was going anywhere. Yes, I was chipping away at getting more recycled materials, but I wasn't making what I felt like meaningful progress. So I dropped the difficulty. I put it down to easy. And boy, oh boy, oh boy, did I have an absolute blast with this game when I dropped it down to easy. I'm going to be honest and say that easy mode in Void Bastards feels like normal in pretty much any other game. I still died about 5 times on my main playthrough on easy. But I was finding ammo more, I was finding resources more, and I was just generally having a lot better time. So judge me where you will. If you want to go somewhere else, go, wait, this guy didn't even finish the game on normal. I didn't finish the game on normal. I finished the game on easy mode. I went back and played it on normal, and I was like, okay, now I have more of an understanding of what's going on. I could play through it again. Replayability is not hugely there. You could go through it and kind of go a different route and get more items and all that, but there's not like a whole new thing to go and find out when you finish the game. But anyway, so yeah, I did finish the game on easy mode. Okay, so when it goes in with the roguelike stuff is the ammo doesn't carry over. So when you jump back in again, you have to kind of, my biggest tip is jump onto as many ships as you can early on and just try to get the ammo, as much of it as you can. But the fact that all your parts and all your recycled materials carries over is really, really nice. How it also works with the story side of things is, imagine it's like chapters. So once you've done your first 2 like main objectives, you go back, you get a little cutscene about this kind of HR computer that you've got to find, and then you go off. After that cutscene is the next checkpoint. So if you go off and die that time, you don't go back to the start of the game. You go back to that checkpoint, which again is a really nice little touch. And the game overall feels like it has the roguelite elements where it doesn't completely respect you as a player in terms of you die, there's going to be punishments. However, the majority of the time, it does respect you, or respect your time at least, in terms of having the parts, having your recycled materials all carry over, mean that just chipping away, even if I died after 2 ships, something carried over. There was something worthwhile doing on those 2 ships that meant when I go back and start again. I mean, dying after doing 2 out of 3 objectives on a main storyline is losing like an hour and a half gameplay in terms of going for the objectives, but you've got more items, you've got more parts and all that to kind of craft and go along with. So, gameplay. How does the game feel? So, for some reason, it's been compared to Bioshock. People have said, oh, it's very similar to Bioshock. The game, for me, didn't feel anything like Bioshock. Not at all. It felt more like Borderlands with its gunplay. The gunplay feels very arcadey, but it feels nice. And the weapons that you craft and level up with are feckin' awesome. Like, seriously cool. You start off with a classic little pistol, then you go to this staple gun that basically shoots a burst of 6. It's basically a shotgun. The further away you are, it does less damage. The closer you are, you can basically one-hit enemies. You then get this like charge-up mid-range rifle that can shoot through windows. You then get this like exceedingly fast rapid fire gun, which is cool, but you just run out of ammunition like straight away with it pretty much. And then you get this beastly kind of rocket launcher thing that shoots down. You get secondary weapons, you get the kind of quirky secondary weapons. You can imagine this game's going to be quirky with its weapons if you just look at the visuals. You get like cat robots that you throw down, they go off and they distract enemies. So that's another element of the strategic gameplay. You throw the cats down, it takes a security drone off and you can sneak up behind it and shoot it with your shotgun. You get mines that you can lay around and you can like entice enemies into coming into your mines. You get this one where you can literally zap the enemy, take their mass, put them somewhere else. So perfect example of that is, I could put them into the air, like there's this air tube tunnels, then press the air tube tunnel thing and just out they go into space. So there, buddy. Thanks for stopping by. And it's just fun. It has fun with it. But it does take time to get to those areas. I'm talking like 4 or 5 hours into my main run through that I actually got to those. Now the main story took me just over 10 hours on easy mode to finish. There's a lot here, and like I said, I did die. Someone who's good at games could probably finish it in around about 7.5 hours, but it took me just over 10 hours to get through point A to point B. But I loved it. I really enjoyed playing through it. At times it does suffer from the same thing that any roguelite or roguelike suffers from in terms of repetitive gameplay, in terms of you die, you're going back and you're going through ships again. Ships aren't randomly generated. In terms of loot and parts on them, they are randomly generated. But in terms of the ship layout, they're kind of like you have a medic ship and pretty much, I think there's like 3 different types of medic ships, and then the 3 different types each have a layout, same as other ships are that. So you get used to ship layouts, which is, I suppose you could argue, feeds into the strategic gameplay even more. And then the final point I want to get to is the humour of the game, because the game is just straight up funny. It's just straight out, doesn't care, laugh in your face funny. You have this robot that's constantly speaking to you over the top, extremely sarcastic. It narrates all the comic cutscenes you have feeding to you, or when like your tutorial stuff, you do something stupid, it will tell you've done something stupid. It will give you pointers like stay away from this enemy. It doesn't just say stay away from this enemy. It's just like engaging with this enemy would be an extremely stupid idea. I engaged with it and then I died, and it said I did tell you that engaging with this enemy was a completely or extremely stupid idea. But then the actual citizens of the aliens on the ship, they all speak as well. Some of them don't say much. They just grunt. But then you got these little fellas. They're tiny and they are rude. Like, kids, cover your ears, because they go, "There you are, fuckface," and they will just run at you. I even got called a spunk blanket or something, a spunk monkey. I'm not kidding. Like, these little things, they don't care. They're like juvenile little brats that just want to run at you and bite your ankles. And then going on to finally, it's just visuals of the game. The game just looks so cool. The stylization of the game just goes throughout everything you do. From the comic book cutscenes, to the voice acting, to the kind of stupid humour that the robot offers, or these little citizens offer, to the thing of like where, okay, like there's like visual audio cues. So it will say tap, 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 tap on a door, meaning that someone's the other side of that door. Because it says tap, 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 I know it's probably one of the small guys because it says tap. If it says stomp, 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 I know it's probably one of the guys, I think they're called swarms. And these guys are, I mean, you don't want to mess with these guys. They're beastie. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to avoid that guy. Or it says hover, hover, hover. And I know, okay, this is probably one of those spook people who disappear in it. So the game gives you everything you need to be strategic. To lock doors so enemies can't come through, to then go another way around and find another way through the ship. Which kind of goes into the conclusion of Void Bastards is a great, great game. I've had so much fun playing the game. I had so much fun getting through it. Like, with that, when it was on easy, I wasn't enjoying normal. And yeah, you could argue, oh, you're just not good at video games, you know. I play a lot of video games, okay? I'm not sitting here saying I'm like MLG at first-person shooters, because I'm really not. But this game was it was getting to the point where I was dying so much, I felt like my time was wasted. And I felt like playing for it on easy got me through the game. I got to enjoy what the game offered. It felt perfectly acceptable for me. I wasn't looking for a ridiculously hard challenge playing the game. I didn't get the ridiculously hard challenge, but I did get a challenge. Now, you might want to play it on normal, that's by all means, please do so. There is a very easy mode. I didn't dip down to very easy mode. I just played it on easy. And yeah, and playing it on easy, I loved the game. I absolutely loved Void Bastards. It's going to sit with me for a long time in terms of its humour, in terms of its visuals, in terms of everything else it offers. And I recommend it to anyone who wants that kind of roguelite kind of humour-filled shooter game, because that's exactly what it is. You're jumping in, you're grinding through, you're dying, but next run through you've got extra stuff to get you a little bit further, and a little bit further, and a little bit further, and it has a real nice checkpoint system with the story that respects the player's time. So that's going to wrap up, guys. It's a little bit longer than I wanted to, but I didn't want to cut things short. I didn't want to kind of blitz through things too quickly. The idea of these reviews are we really dive into the meat of everything the game offers. But that is it. That's going to wrap up my review for Void Bastards, guys. Definitely check it out if you like first-person shooters and if you like that kind of roguelike gameplay. I should say it is coming to Xbox One and PC this week. It's coming to Xbox Game Pass as of launch. As far as I know, it's coming to PS4 at a later date, but no confirmed release date is available yet. But that's it, guys. Thank you so much for stopping by and checking the video out. Hopefully you liked the video. If you did like the video, then why not give it a little like? It really does make me and makes us at Indie Credible smile. And if you like what we do at Indie Credible and you want to keep up to date with more indie game content, including news, reviews, previews, then make sure you subscribe. If you really like what we do, guys, make sure you head over to patreon.com/Indie Credible or just hit the link in the description below. And you can head over there. If you've got the means to, throw us a couple of dollars and we give you some indie game goodness, additional indie game goodness to what we bring everybody else on YouTube. But thanks again, guys, for stopping by. It's been a pleasure. Hopefully you're enjoying Void Bastards if you're playing it or if you're going to be playing it. Let us know in the comments below if you're looking forward to jumping into it, if you're going to be playing the game, or maybe you're watching this late on and you've already finished the game. What did you think to Void Bastards? I'd love to hear that as well, guys. As always, thanks again. And until next time, guys, goodbye.